Now, we also look to national transformation through the lenses of the media, with our focal point in our postscript this Thursday morning focusing on the election campaign, and this is through the lenses of media. What is the media exposure, role of media, and also focusing on the capital-intensive politics that we are looking into as a country. The backbone of it is that a free and fair election is not just about casting the vote or the ballot, it's also about accessing credible, timely, and balanced information. That being said, in every democracy, we see media as an actor, a bridge between the state and the citizen, and ensuring voters can make the informed choices and leaders that they can hold accountable. Now, in that regard, we are in a very interesting time where we've seen evolution of media, from traditional media to online media or social media. Right now, different candidates from presidential to parliamentary and others, everyone now has a media team with the evolution of media. But what's the role of the primary role of that media team? So in Uganda, media exposure and political campaigns have increasingly become capital intensive, with campaign communication strategists shifting from traditional coverage to the paid advertising, the paid political conversations, the digital influencing, and also the mobilization that's happening on the digital platforms. So all these are actually influencing how we get to do our work. When we look to some reports, you do have the African Center for Media Excellence 2024, that report stating that Uganda's political coverage is accounting for nearly 38% of all primetime TV news during election period. And those of you that are exclusive to Nation Media Group, both print and broadcast, you definitely can witness that. Yet over 60% of content is sponsored or politically influenced in other cases. So this raises critical questions about the independence, also the sustainability of journalism through an election cycle. To that, allow me to introduce my panelists who are in the field on duty. Even as they're going to be speaking to us, they're going to be active in one way or another. To my immediate left, Derek, a political reporter with Nation Media Group. Good morning.
Good morning, Priscilla.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Yeah, we've been seeing you traversing different coverages, especially through the nomination processes, and the race has now officially begun. What's the temperature like?
Just like expected, the temperatures are high. Yeah. I've seen intensity among the candidates who are moving across the country. I've particularly been following the main opposition candidate, that's Kyagulanyi, and I see that he has followed to the dot his campaign schedule. He's in Kigezi sub-region. Okay. Yesterday he was in I forget the district, but he's in Kigezi, and he's been doing so much intense work. We saw that when he was in Mbarara, many of his supporters with whom he moves were arrested, and I was there. We did quite a bit and wide coverage on that. Okay. And apart from that, like expected in 2021, what happened in 2021, the tear gassing and the brutality has not so much been in this election so far. So far is the magic word, yes. Yeah, so far. Okay. It has been a little bit calmer than we expected. All right, let me hear it from the lenses of Damali Muhaye, who's also our senior political correspondent, and you have been able to look through both print and broadcast, seeing how things are building up towards where we are today. Good morning.
Good morning, Priscilla. Hello, our viewers. I hope everyone is doing well. It's good morning. And of course, in my opinion, the campaigns are picking up. Of course, Ugandans are used to seeing the campaigns full of brutality, like tear gas, the running battles between police and supporters of different candidates. We have not been seeing this. And I've been speaking to a number of people in Kampala, and majority of them are saying, we are not yet feeling the campaigns. Because they are used to seeing the other side of the story. But of course, things change. You never know. This is a new Uganda. Maybe good things are coming. New Uganda. But, leave me alone. So of course, what I'm trying to say is that, of course, things are going on well. the candidates are able to speak to the voters without any interruption. And I don't think anyone should come out and blame anyone. They have been given a chance to meet everyone. They have been trailing very well across the country. And of course, as we talk right now, the momentum is heating up with the parliamentary candidates joining. I'll give you a scenario in Kampala. Of course, we have been seeing a number of rallies going around in Kampala divisions. But what has caught my eyes is that there is a change in strategies of these candidates, where we are seeing more of door-to-door campaigns among the MPs. I don't know, maybe they don't have enough money.
In Kampala.
Or in Kampala, I don't know if they don't have enough money, or it's one of the strategies they are deploying to ensure that they reach all voters. So I've been seeing a number of them moving door to door, like from one person to another, convincing family members to family members from door to door, to ensure that they meet everyone in the constituencies they are contesting in. So there's some shift from the big rallies we used to see to now that door-to-door and other strategies they're employing. We shall look them through.
Okay, strategies that could be managing what we have commonly come to know as campaign financing. All right, we also do have Robert Sempala, who's joining us. His team and his office is always ready to, extend services, especially to journalists through the Human Rights Network for Journalists, Uganda. Have you received any clients so far?
Yes, we have.
Really?
Sematimba, Wejire, and a couple of others we have received. We thought there would be no cases this time around, given how things have been turning out. But as devil's night, things have started now unfolding. Because Wejire is a unique case because it says it was electrocuted. I thought electrocuted is when you're killed using electricity. But a guy was unconscious. He was rushed to Mbarara, later down to Kampala, went to the hospital to see him. He's still with a very severe chest pain, limping, and he narrowly survived. He has a visible scar of where it was done around the neck. To date, he does not know what crime he committed, and the police has not yet owned up, neither the UPDF has, so we're still struggling to apportion responsibility on who is responsible, so we can be able to pursue justice on his behalf and, of course, on the wider media fraternity. But we have also received other cases. At the same time, there was Kana Ray in Mbarara who works for a TV station belonging to the deputy speaker. Who was beaten up by a mob, unfortunately by an opposition leaning. So we're also trying to see what to do with it. But there are cases coming through, though it is not as ugly as it were the other campaigns.
Okay. All right, at least some positive things coming out from the journalists that we're going to be having this conversation with, election campaign and media coverage. Let me come back to you, Damali. You've been able to cover yet another cycle, and we want to see from your lenses, based on what we saw in 2021 and what you have briefly shared with us in 2025, when you do the comparisons, what has changed, especially on your side as a journalist covering these election cycles yet again?
Of course, apart from NMG being banned from covering one candidate, you all know about that. I think the media has deployed extensively. It's giving coverage to all the presidential candidates, unlike maybe the previous one. Of course, there are about 8 candidates who are contesting for presidential, and majority of them have been given coverage, apart from some few who are, I think, not serious. Majority of them are resting. They are not moving across the country. So if someone doesn't go out, they are not given media. But as far as brutality of the media is concerned, you remember previously the journalists who were covering the opposition candidates, especially the NUP, were targeted. The FDC and then the other opposition parties were targeted by the security. Like they were scared of. Some of them could even be scared of following those candidates. This is different this time. We haven't seen such cases. They are there, but there are not many. Like Robert said, there are not so very many, so they have been given a chance to cover all the presidential candidates, whether opposition or the ruling NRM, without fear. And we're seeing a number of stories coming up. Away from coverage, of course, like I explained earlier, we have initially, by now, Kampala could be booming, and even across the country, not only by the presidential candidates, but also all other people contesting for various positions, including the chairpersons and then the MPs, the mayors. But I'm seeing a reduction in the campaigns, something like that. It's like they are not conducting the huge rallies we used to see. I don't know what other strategies they are using apart from the door-to-door, but I haven't seen more of other candidates who are contesting for other positions apart from the presidential. So should I say that maybe political parties are focusing more on presidential than the other candidates? Is everyone doing their own things? Or apart from the NOP, I've seen them united, like they have been conducting joint campaigns. They have been going from constituency to constituency as a joint group. You see, you find a parliamentary flag bearer, then the mayor, then the division mayors for the cities and municipalities. So they are moving as a group. But other political parties have been seeing individual people moving on their own. So I don't know where the challenge is, but maybe the political parties are focusing more on their presidential candidates. They are neglecting the other small fish, I should say. Something like that.
I mean, it's been only 4 days, so we're yet to make a better analysis of that, seeing as there was a big gap between their nomination date and their campaign start date. And so that could have also made a contribution. But also 4 days and there's been some sort of relative peace and calm as they've been doing so is another thing. The other consideration I think we have to put on table is the fact that this particular campaign is more digitized than the previous one. And so, as you say, there's door-to-door strategy. Others have picked up, digital strategies. And in that line, when we look to that, Derek, you have been able to, you are scrolling through different pages and accounts on a daily basis. You wake up to see updates from Lucy and members and company. Talk to us about the shifts that you are seeing, especially with the era of digitization to politics.
Digitization is a very important aspect in our time right now, that then you have to be very careful on how you approach things. Like Damali has just put it, we used to see huge campaign rallies. I think yesterday I attended one of the rallies of the Kampala Central, aspiring Kampala Central candidate. That is Lewis Ruwongoya, right, in Kamocha, where he launched his campaign. Apart from the launches, to be honest with you, I think very many people are using door-to-door, like Damali has said. We've seen, I can actually dig up part of how this door-to-door comes. In 2017, when we saw the Chadondo East by-election that brought Honorable Kyagulanyi. That's the first time I saw a effective door-to-door campaign being conducted, and Kyagulanyi used to wake up at around 9 a.m. and he would move from one home to another. He would have lunch with some people, and then he moves to the campaign rally later in the evening, and it worked for him. And he says he has always advised his members, the people that he leads in the NUP to take on the same. But you ask a very important question of digitization of the politics that's here. You see, in this era, many people have actually come out to say that for you to be able to campaign for a post of maybe an MP or something successfully, you need anywhere about 400 to 300 million, 300 to 400 million for you to be able to campaign and traverse the entire constituencies and stuff. But with digitization, you reach as many people as possible without even moving an inch. And I know that there are so many candidates. I know of my OB in Bujiri municipality who is vying to replace Asman Basaliwa. Bujiri municipality is called Paul Bindia. He has conducted an online best kind of campaign from the start, from the time he announced his candidate. Because I share most of the groups with him. He's my very close friend. So you see that he's campaigning to his electorate, and he's reaching his target group of the youth.
Yeah.
Many of them who are on social media, many of whom are on their phones and stuff like that. So he keeps churning out as much information as possible, churning out his posters, churning out all the pictures that he needs. And he has saved himself a lot of money. When he was starting out, he came to us as a group, and he was talking about, I want a mobilization, a funds mobilization, a fundraising. How much are you looking at? I'm looking at about 300 million and stuff like that. We sat and told him, no, you can have this money, but there is a way you can reach out to these people without necessarily reaching there. Yes, he's on ground. He goes around talking to people still door to door, but the use of social media that he has employed in Bujiri municipality is very enormous. And I know very many youth, very many young people who are vying for various positions know exactly where to find their fellow people.
All right, that's interesting.
Many of the people, even presidential candidates, I guess, know exactly where the electorate are. The biggest majority of them, they know where they are, and that's where they are going for.
All right, Robert, not as one who is under the entity to which you're being representing on this table, but as a journalist, you've been able to also yourself cover different election cycles. Draw to us the uniqueness between 2016 and 2021 in its nature being an independent, unique one, or marred by COVID-19, among other things, and then into our 2026 general elections.
Yeah.
What have been the patterns, both positive and negative?
The other one, the first one, which is 2021, we saw initially big rallies, very big rallies in the run-up to it through the by-elections that happened around, especially on the part of the political opposition. They would, draw joint campaigns, and the rallies were massive until when we descended down to, the scientific campaigns where you would hardly meet your people. So for me, social media was more impactful that time than we are seeing it play out now, because there were no chances of meeting your people until when it was now opened up to about 200 people. You could hardly do head counting, and that was for me a very huge undoing for the political opposition, especially the loop that was kind of launching itself onto the scene, as opposed to how it is now, where they have been able to rally masses, especially in areas where you even thought they would not have, massive turn-ups, like in western Uganda and northern, where they have been. So that is one of the things. The other one is about the calmness and, of course, the peaceful environment that is playing out. No one really saw this happening because of the violence that characterized the previous 2021 elections, which also has led to most of the senior reporters running away from covering this particular election. I've talked to a number of them who have said, no, I cannot be there again. It was very risky covering those elections. And most of them now are covering other beats. The media houses have learned how to send in new people, and we're very happy that they're doing their best, and we're getting good coverage for what is happening in the elections. And the other thing is about we have an emergence of new candidates more than we saw last time. In most places, we do not have the traditional politicians that would have hold over constituencies and places where you'd think this one is so-and-so's, this one is so-and-so's, like it was a done case. Here you have to toss a dice to see where it is going to go. So that energy now is coming out from all candidates, the incumbents trying to hold on to, and also the emergence of new figures like Lucy saying, you vote me, it's up to you whether you vote me or not. The other people cheated me, so it's warning, this one, don't cheat me if I ever give you anything. And that is part of what the other thing that we're seeing. But also, I see more campaign issues coming out in this campaign than to what last time. Because last time it was about kind of saying it's my space, the security won't allow me to do ABCD, they divert you a lot. But just like Derek has said, we have seen many of the candidates going to their preferred places and reaching there. Yeah. Initially, it was a disturbance for maybe the NUP, where they would be diverted and passed into areas that were way far longer than now. But I think things are stabilizing. If we go at this pace, you'll make sure I'm likely to see maybe observer reports playing as good reports than they did last time. Though there is less so far independent eyes on the elections than it were last time. I think for some reason, very few have been accredited to, monitor elections. Maybe they'll come up at the observation level, but for monitoring, it's really, really down, especially coming from where I stand on behalf of the civil society, because we're part of the civil society. Very few have been accredited to, have an independent eye on how campaigns are playing out. I see less foreign media covering elections as compared to the previous campaigns. There are very few cameras of Western media. I don't know why, either because they are using digital processes to get the information, or they were not allowed in to come and cover elections. But there is very limited presence of foreign media here. Okay.
All right. You've drawn us the comparisons, 2016 mass campaigns, 2021 scientific ones, and 2025, 2026, they're taking on a digital shape by and large. What are the realities on ground? We're being joined by Stephen Mbide, who is on ground, having a sit down with Kampala Central Mayor, that is Salim Uhuru, who we want to find out, is he also going door to door? He has the advantage of the ruling party, the yellow on him. And so can we say that he's pretty much done and dusted? That should be automatic. Also, why is he coming back? Okay, as we wait for Pilau from Stephen Mbide and the Mayor of Kampala Central, we continue on with our postscript election campaign and media exposure. My guests are Robert Sempala, Derek Wandera, and Muhaye Damali, all giving us 2 cents on things as they are seeing them through their lenses. We do have the Mayor having thanked NTV for coverage, which then sparks us into a conversation. And this is a conversation on the nation media ban. The most recent one being us being banned from covering parliamentary affairs. The first one was a ban on covering President Museveni. And so we just want to know the impact of this ban through the lenses of the journalists who have been doing this work on ground. Derek, what's been the impact of this ban? And it can be both positive and negative. Yeah,
I mean, there is no ban that brings any positive stuff to the media. I mean, but also to the larger democracy in the country. Every ban brings negativity, shows signs of unbalanced grounds on the weighing scale of democracy. We have seen ourselves as reporters struggling to get into the inroads of the information that we're supposed to have to channel to the people. We have seen that we are incapacitated on the way we are supposed to report. For instance, if you have to report about the president and he's advising us to go on the national broadcasters, there's a lot that you miss in terms of side stories when he's attending those rallies. For instance, the body language of some of the supporters. I've seen many schools being closed just to go and attend rallies for the president. Some of those stories are very impeccable and very important for our reporting. And if you are not there for you to be able to maybe even interview a student, it becomes very problematic. So for me, the ban has been very, very negatively affecting us. But would you ask the question of, have you gotten the stories from the president's rallies? Yes, we have. Are these stories authentic? Yes, they are. Like we have always done the authentic stories. The only thing is, when you are there, it's very different from when you're seeing from someone else and copying from somewhere else. So for me, I would like to say, journalism is very, very, very important in an election cycle and in a democracy. The more the president and the Speaker of Parliament continue to stifle that freedom of expression and freedom of press. Yesterday, I was with Robert in a room, and we were reviewing the Journalists Act and Press and Journalists Act, and looking at some of the issues that there are. My senior, John Bosco, gave us a history on how the Journalists Act came into force. It was out of sheer rage, out of emotions and stuff like that. Now it's important for us now to review some of those, some of the provisions therein, to try to look at which provisions were provided within the Journalists Act in an emotive way, so that we put them into the context within which we work.
All right.
So just to finalize, you ask whether this is impacting us negatively or positively. And like I said, any ban on us is always negative.
Okay.
We are just trying to demystify and trying to see how we can still continue with our journalism regardless of the ban. But trust you me.
On the positive side, I think our numbers have grown with that ban, because people have got to know that, this is a trusted source that is telling the truth every day with the different platforms. But that being said, Damali, I know that on the editorial side of things and the independence of the editorial, there's been some limitations, and there's been some challenges that have come with this. Talk to us about some of those.
Of course, I remember in 2021, I was covering the FDC candidate, that was Patrick Amriat, and this time around, they keep rotating us so that you don't get addictive to our party. So this time...
They haven't changed.
So this time they had changed me, and they had given me President Museveni. And of course, all the stories that are taking place in the field, I'm entitled to writing them. But we find a lot of challenge relying on the press team, presidential press team. Of course, they are going to send us the press statements, but that is according to what or how they see things. As NMG, we have been trained in a way that when you go to the field, you bring out something that is different from what our colleagues are bringing. So if I was on a presidential maybe trail, the story I would write would be different from what the presidential press team is giving us. Of course, they will give you only the good things. We have done this, we have done this. That is not a story to me. As a person, I want to be on ground, speak to the voters, find out their challenges, whether the presidential candidate is addressing them, or they just keep promising them things over and over again. Exactly. That is something we cannot get. Exactly. That is something we cannot get. All we get is President Museveni has said this, President Museveni has said this, and that is all. That is impacting our journalism, because as NMG, we are trained in an independent way. You look at things in 360 degrees. You are all round person, which is not what we are getting. And of course, as NMG, we have a number of social media platforms. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have the website, and other things. So when you go to the field, you come up with multimedia content. The one that goes on Twitter, those are videos. You also have tried something that goes on the website, and you also write for something that goes on different platforms, timely, as and when they happen. But when you are not on ground, how am I going to capture the videos? Meaning we are affected in a way that we cannot send timely updates on those social media platforms, and this affects the voters who are also his. Of course, the voters are not only for NMG, they are for them.
No, they are not.
So whatever we do to Yambabo, like in Lucy's voice, so it has affected both of us. It has affected us, and has also affected them. So it's high time they see that whatever they are doing is impacting not only on NMG, but the Ugandans as well. And of course, if they didn't want us to cover them, why do they continue sending us their press statements? Meaning they want us. So they are also confused, I should say. So it's high time they sort out whatever is happening.
They send you to write the good things.
Whatever.
You want to write the bad
Robert,
things.
let's talk about the infringements that the Ugandan journalism is facing right now, but also drawing comparisons to what we've already seen as a way of picking up and moving around the East African community. Most recent one is Tanzania, as they were going through their election cycle. Journalism actually did face the wrath of the Titan there. We've also seen it moving about to Kenya, and here we are in Uganda. You saying that you may not have received so many cases so far because of the relative peace and calmness within the period, but in the bigger picture, journalism has actually faced a wrath through the cycle since its inception.
Yeah, actually, this is now the physical one where we see the NMG being banned unjustifiably. But according to our Press Freedom Index reports, at least the most recent showed that the most violation was blocking journalists from accessing news scenes. And that was akin to what exactly is happening to the National Media Group, where instead of now physically manhandling, clobbering journalists, beating them to near pulp, the perpetrators have learned a more sophisticated way of turning away the cameras by simply blocking you from accessing the news scenes. So in here, if you have a media that you want to carry your stories, but you do not allow them to come and fish for it according to their own lenses, it certainly means that you're really hiding away from public scrutiny. You have a lot to cover, and I like the resilience of NMG, where they've come out to say, we still will give you coverage even when you have demonstrated that you do not want us to cover you. But the fact that they still send in the stories is sheer demonstration that you cannot do away with the media. You need the media. Even when you want it to act in a particular way that pleases you, you still have demonstrated that the media is essential in an election. And I want to give it to NMG for continuing to pick up those stories. Maybe if I were in that position, I would say, if you do not love me, why must I push my love onto you? Yeah? If love is not reciprocated, it's so painful. Yeah? The NMG has demonstrated love that is not being reciprocated. I can imagine the pain that colleagues like her and Derek Wandler, together with the other team, go through to carry pieces of stories that you can't own up. Yeah, you don't know whether they are real or they have been AI'd, artificial intelligence. You can't even know because you can't own them up.
Yeah.
So it is a clawback in our processes for liberating media, pluralistic as it is, to make it independent, to make them feel a sense of exploring their fullest potential. Because if you can't cover for the multimedia spaces that NMG has, and all you have is a story of people standing they're all very homogeneous. You do not know if there are lots of questions that come along with those stories. But now, issue is for us not to wonder why NMG is missing, but NMG must know which crime it committed. Yeah, that is where fairness and justice starts. They should have a right to a fair hearing before you pass a verdict. And if there is this complainant, say Parliament, say the Presidency, there should be a neutral arbiter. And yesterday we were looking at the Press and Journalists Act together with lawyers, senior journalists, and we're trying to look at it in terms of the obtaining context, whether it still rhythms well with progressive, media freedom. And we're seeing that the Media Council has a role to play, the UCC has a role to play, courts have a role to play. So if anyone is aggrieved, they should bring on table their complaint, and then there should be a neutral arbiter who will give a fair balance. It's alleged you committed such a crime. How do you plead? And then later, at the end of the day, you give a verdict. And if NMG is as guilty, then they will suffer the consequences of the same, as opposed to saying, go away. For me, it is akin to misuse of power. public office and resources. 2, it is an affront to press freedom, especially where it is critically needed in an election, where you have voters who rely on what they trickles through the media to make informed decisions. So I do not know what type of decisions these voters are going to make if they're relying on information that is not homegrown. Yeah, that's why we have encouraged all media houses to train their people, deploy them to the field, let them be professional, have gatekeepers. So how are you gatekeeping on a story that you even don't know? Because you don't know what to edit out and what to leave in that story. So it is a call to action for us, that whatever it is, NMG should be heard. We as media development actors should know what is it that we can push for or against. Sometimes even the NMG might be guilty. Yeah? Okay. Maybe they have committed some crimes.
Allow me to broaden what you're sharing with us to, in as much as the ban is to Nation Media Group, but you see there are many other independent media houses that are also trying to do their due diligence as the Fourth Estate. What message, I know that you've been interacting with these circles and I know that you've been hearing their voices. What are their voices on this case, and what's the impact to the other stakeholders in the industry of journalism? And they're thinking, okay, we also either do we have to tighten up? Do we have to loosen up? Do we have to report only the good? You know?
Yeah, the broader impact is permeation of fear into the wider media spectrum. Every media house now fears to fall into the footsteps of NMG. Many are too scared to even speak out on behalf of their own, because as a media, we are into that space together. You do not thrive where your other colleague is going down. You certainly know you're the next victim. If you do not speak out, then you're missing out a critical moment to rebalance yourself. 3 is that NMG is feared by people who want to appease the presidency and parliament. They will fear to even come and associate with you, you know, in the sense that these people are not good to my boss. Okay. How can I be seen even to associate with them? That is how far it can go. But also you're disenfranchising the journalists who under Article 40, subsection 2, have a right to perform their professional work. They are here willing to work, deployed, but they can't work because unjustifiably you have edged them out. And also us in the public are denied information from the source. That is very essential for us, because we have a right to access information, and we can't be at all the campaign rallies. We only can access it through different media platforms. Here you are now. Character assassinating. It's broader, it's bigger. The next thing you know, because it started way back in the 2021 elections, now it is coming back. We know there is a previous record of keeping the monitor under key and lock. We fear for the unknown now. You know, there is a lot of fear that is roaming around. Yeah. We don't know what is about to happen. And in this particular case, no one is speaking to these issues. Yeah, you're turned away and people go silent as though all is normal. Because if you are parliament and you do not want to be watched over by an independent arbiter, watchdog entity like the Nation Media Group, what is it that you're hiding away? And how sure are we that all is well? So I think you ask for one advantage, if any. It benefits the people that have turned away the Nation Media Group. And for them, are thriving is we have defeated them, so you don't see them anywhere here. But that is abetting injustice in the broadest sense of it. Okay,
all right. Away from that, Derek, we are seeing a very interesting trend also that's picking up. Paid media and unpaid media to influence the politics of this season. And you see a report that was estimating 42 billion Ugandan shillings just in 2021, according to ACME, that's indicating that political parties are spending heavily on media coverage. When we look to that, how is it impacting the accuracy, the authenticity, and also the independence of media to ensure that there's a leveled ground to media coverage?
It's two-way in my view. to be honest with you, you know how much the media would be limping without these kind of facilitations and money given to them. The media thrives in like that freedom to have finances to them. There are very few organizations right now that would be willing to fund a media house. They would be happy to fund a journalist like myself and you to go and cover one story or the other, and it's always a one-off. The media needs this money as so much as possible. Does it kill journalism in the sense of which you're speaking? It really depends on what this money is coming to do. I know for sure that the law provides for booking space for airtime and whatever for different campaign aspirants, presidential and parliamentary, even at local level, local government levels, to go and speak to the masses. For those especially who think that they are not given enough independent journalism and coverage, they can book space to do their adverts within the paper. That's way within the law. They can book space to go and have airtime on talk shows, on radios and televisions, and that's way within the law. Does it kill media? In my view, it doesn't. It doesn't kill media. There is a difference between coverage and journalism in the media, but there's also the other angle of commercialization, the commercial side of journalism, and for me these two run at par. They move in tandem, and we have to be very observant on how we intersect these two to make sure that media thrives, journalism thrives from the commercial side, and the both ends will always meet at.
That being said, Damali, I know that at Nation Media Group there's been ongoing trainings just to equip journalists with how best they can engage with this electoral cycle. Talk to us about some of those and how they in tandem will be impacting the work that you do to keep it independent, accurate, and as fair as possible.
Of course, a lot is going on during these campaigns, and we have seen a number of political parties and presidential candidates hiring individual journalists to be on their trail. So meaning if you're hired by a political party, you serve their interests, not the interests of their people or your media house. But at the Nation Media, of course, we have been trained. We have a number of trainings have been going on from our bosses in Nairobi. They have been coming to Uganda to train us. One on safety. As you go on the trail, you make sure safety first. There is no any story beyond your life, so safety first. We have been taken through a number of trainings on how to keep safe while on the trails. You shouldn't involve in a number of things that happen there, and we know what to do. And on the issue of independence, of course, we have always written a number of good stories independently on whatever is happening. And of course, we have been taught to give audience to everyone. We shouldn't segregate among the presidential candidates or parliamentary or anyone. So we give coverage to all, whether from the NRM, opposition or independents, we are supposed to cover them very well, yeah.
All right. And in closing, Robert, as civil society, what are some of those mechanisms that you need to re-echo for journalists as they're engaging in this cycle? Because we still have some good days to go, and we don't know what could happen in between there. But of course, if we are guarded, we have a better chance of...
One is that we have put a bulk of rapid response mechanisms in case journalists have been attacked, injured. We have later emergency medical support where some journalists are threatened, being trailed. We have some temporary relocations for them, some family support for journalists that have been, rendered unable to work, and we even replace gadgets where gadgets are being destroyed to block journalists from doing their work. We have a very rapid process through which we can replace gadgets for the journalists, but also monitoring and documentation, which is very key to produce very very informed reports which can be used for advocacy, to forecast in the future and know what to do at what time. We also have, different actors within the civil society, ourselves and many others, ACME, AIJ, have been training journalists on how to professionally position in this whole spectrum of campaigns, and I think it is really working. But most importantly, we give it to the journalists who have, braved all the uncertainties, the tension is to go out there and trail candidates. It's like they are standing for elections themselves, because what a candidate does, you also do in order to measure up. So we must really credit them for the bravery, and if we go this way, we know that everything will be kept in the light, even when there are spaces that have been kept in the dark, like the National Media Group. I hope by the next time we come here, it will be a very different story for the National Media Group. I wish we could have a whole day every time speaking about this, because we do not want people to forget about it. It can't be like life is normal. We move on as though nothing fundamental happened to a giant media house, massive investment with employment. So a lot is at stake. So I'm very happy that the National Media Group is brave enough to equally stand out and say we are not happy with what is happening. Otherwise, if the rest of the media houses and other actors could do the same, I'm sure it would be a different trajectory. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for coming in on the morning show and having this conversation with us. I believe that it's drawn a lot of linkages and understanding the background of what it takes to actually have journalism as the other player in this electoral cycle. Robert has mentioned something about light, and it's reminded me of a song that used to have that has a line that goes, "I want to be in the light just as you are in the light." So as media, as the fourth estate, we want to be in the light just as you are in the light. And of course, this is directly to the ruling government and the bans from the president's office as well as the parliament. So media is remaining democracy's fourth estate, and this is in the heat of campaigns. We are seeing journalists walking thinly and thickly in fine lines between public duty, state pressure and commercial interests. So as we're getting closer to the general elections in January, we must ensure that there's media freedoms, continued integrity, and as well as journalistic safety that must be upheld. And this is not just a press issue. This is a national imperative. Priscilla Regina Nalwoga is my name. Thank you so much for having been with us on Thursday's edition. Until we meet again, be safe.